British. Is that something you identify with?
What? I'll get right now. What? Absolutely. Are you mad? Yes, I absolutely do. To the death of me. Where is the flag?
Something I found interesting is that you said, oh, the fact that I'm black, British, but Mancoonian. I think it's so interesting that was even a but rather than like an and.
Like, most Londoners would like classify me as outside the culture, or like latching onto black British culture as if it's only like London-centric and orientated around London. I don't really care for that. Like, I'm still an ardent believer that like, Manchester Carnival is significantly better than Notting Hill Carnival, and I will ride or die for that statement.
For me, as opposed to a melting pot of different cultures, people from different backgrounds, all celebrating what it means to be that unique identity. And the fact that you have, like, you know, Afro punk, you have, I mean, just look at the different genres there are. Like,
For me, I'm just going to be real. What I identify as is Nigerian, Essex Nigerian, I'm not going to lie to you. The whole Black Brit thing, it's like a narrative that's been pushed down throats. For example, oh, let's have a TV show about the Black British culture. And they give us Top Boy. And I'm like, that's one aspect, but it's not the whole of London, and the whole of black people in London is not like that. It's one specific demographic, and that can't speak for all of us.
We need to create a safe space for Nigerians who can't handle spice. It's not even a cultural thing. Spice is just not nice. It's just too hot.
The band came to our school and we performed with the band. Can I just say, yes, me. I was performing.
Guys, you've got the band's backup dancer on here. What does the term black community mean to you? If anything, if it even means anything to you.
Do you know what? I think I understand why people use it. And I think when you're talking about certain things, I can see where it may be applicable or applied correctly. But I feel like, in my opinion, the term black community is used in the same vein as when other groups like try to group us. One black person does X, then that represents, that is the same notion as white supremacy. It might sound like a hyperbole, but it's not.
This whole narrative of, say, you know, one black race or just one sort of way to be black, or even black excellence. Oops. She said it.
I've seen that take so many times here, and I just want to say we all need to sit down and ask ourselves, are we cooning right now? I feel like even in the language you use when we're discussing white people, I don't think I've ever heard anyone use the term white community without it being ironic. We always give them the privilege of being individuals. Even when we say white people, we imply there's multiple of them and they vary. When it's black people, the black community do. You're sounding real Farage right now.
For me, the mixed narrative is such a singular narrative. We end up with this constant narrative, which is like, mixed people are just torn between identities. And that's just what you hear over and over again. As you said before, in terms of like the relativity of struggles, it bothers me to the point that like, I like try and find out where my place is, but that kind of process is by stepping back. Even for me, like I never have this conversation because there's so few people who have my experience.
Yeah.
Because as a Nigerian Pakistani, even like the gender dynamics, there's so many layers to this that have defined my experience. Because for me, I would have had a very, very different experience if my mum was black and my dad had them mixed. Say my mum was Nigerian.
Yeah.
Because it dictates like my hair. Like I saw someone the other day which was like, oh, you can tell that she has a white mum because of her heat damage. Like that is literally me.
So I went to uni with a friend of mine. We like basically grew up in the same area, like our families are really close, blah, blah, blah. And we settled into different groups at uni. And I remember, so I didn't really see her much, but I remember seeing her in like the first Christmas term after uni, talking about it, blah, blah. She was like, yeah, you're part of like that alternative black group. I was like, alternative to what?
What?
Like,
so
alternative to what? Who is the mainstream? But I was confused. I just want to use this as an opportunity to say to everybody here that if you include the patriarchy, capitalism, and feminism in one sentence, it doesn't automatically make you smart. You actually still have to make sense. I know it's hard to believe. I know it's hard to believe. And I feel like what I want to say here, now that I'm on my TD Jakes, is that you're going to take anything away from that. It's literally go out into this world and be you, because there are people who are going to tell you who you are despite whatever your composition is, despite whatever music you like, despite whatever you read, etc., etc. When you're living in a world where people want to tell you who you are, there's no greater power than being who you are. There's no greater power than acknowledging, this is what I've been through, this is my experiences, this is who I am, this is why I'm the way I am. There's no greater power than knowing yourself. And I think if you're going to leave with one thing, it's that. Because listen, so did you ever find that you play the role as like a token, and in that did you find that you had to, I'm so sorry, I'm asking questions I know the answer to.
I would get comments like, you can't dance, you can't,
because you can.
You don't. I can't, guys.
I feel like that was pushed more, that narrative that you just spoke about, that was pushed onto you. Do you feel like that was more from white or black people?
Funnily enough, I would say it was kind of like equal, and sometimes it felt worse coming from black people.
Ife is a lot more like, it's easier to pronounce, right? I will never forget being in science class with Mr. Barlin and him trying to pronounce my name. It was like, that was the most terrifying experience as like a new person who's just come to this school, like out in the countryside. And he was like, a flop flavlua.
Ife is easier to pronounce, but actually in the register, I was actually Ife Oluwa. So I did go through, you know, overflower. My friend called me overflower. I get called, even with the shortened Ife, I get called Effie. I get called Iffy. So believe me, with my 3-letter name, I too have had, you know, mispronunciations.
Has anyone ever called you Africa, apple pear?
I think I'm very much aware of my blackness. It's mainly maybe because of where I live. I live in an area where I'll go out and pretty much 80% of the people around me are white. So if it's 10 o'clock at night and I'm walking home with my hoodie on, I can't not feel aware of my blackness. And I think it might, maybe, I can't speak for you, but might be different because for black men as well.
Yeah.
The perceived threat of violence, etc. Even sitting on trains, like during the day, where nobody sits next to you, for example, makes me feel aware of my blackness. But I wouldn't say it rules my life. I don't walk around with like parading it and being like, yeah, I'm black, that's why you treat me this way, or I'm black, so I'm gonna do this, you know. It's just like I'm aware of racism and systemic oppression.
I had that. I even had it in uni. Oh, you won't know anyway because you're from Essex. Oh, you're not that black. This and that. Sorry, what is black? Because there's how many billions of black people on this planet? We're not one-dimensional. We all have different like sides to us. Being black is just one feature of what we are. So to say you're not a specific box of your race is crazy to me. It's so crazy, and I'll never get it.
Honest, like I'll be honest. When I knew I was going to Warwick, I actually had I had an idea of what I wanted my friendship group to be. I wanted it to have like one white girl from the countryside, one like mixed guy. I wanted to have like the perfect intercultural like uni experience. Like this was something I actually
like the perspectives that you see on the...
because I go to uni and like majority of my friends are black. That was just something that I thought was ironic. But
I have to be aware, just like how people may make assumptions about black British people, for example, who went to private school, and like I hate being boxed into that. Similarly, a lot of mixed race or light-skinned black people hate the assumptions and the negative like assumptions that are made about them, and I just need to be more aware of that. So, yeah.
It was only after being your friend that I started learning more things about you, and I was like, sugar, like I have a lot of learning to do. Like I have a lot of things, I have a lot of preconceptions in the sense that like what a certain experience looks like, and I need to fix that in myself.
I feel like just knowing where these things come from, like rock and house, is important, because like without black people, there's no house, there's no rock. So you can have an appreciation for all these things and it not be considered white, because at the end of the day it's all black anyway.
I realize it's how you put it into action that is so important, not just your words about it, but genuinely like try and think about my privilege so much to the point that I like feel quite paralyzed about like by it sometimes. How a lot of people say that like light skin mixed people just don't get it. So all I can do is try my best to defend the black, like the general black experience, and really try and fight to amplify black voices. And